other day over on TikTok, I received a question from somebody that said, how do I move on and heal if I still love him? And that is a really great question, and one that I used to ask all the time back when I was trying to move on and heal. So, in today's video, I'm going to be answering the question, but also explaining why that question itself is not necessarily the right one to ask, and also offering some practical tools that you can implement to start moving on and healing today. So with that, my name is Gracie Rotman, and welcome back if you're returning, or welcome if you're new. I teach people how to heal with confidence and clarity and reclaim their life. So, and yes, Chloe is around. We'll see if she wants to be in the video or not. With that, let's just get straight into it. Okay, so how do I move on and heal when I still love him? Oh, she's here. Everyone say hello. This is Chloe. What do you want to say today? She's like, put me down and let me sniff. Okay, she's gonna go sniff. Back to sniffing now. Don't mind her in the background. Okay, there is an implication implicit in the question that healing and moving on can only occur when you stop loving him. And so the very first thing I want to say is that loving him isn't the problem. Your goal is not to stop loving him, because loving and letting go don't have to be opposites. And that was something that really changed the course of healing for me. Contradictions were not easy for me when I started healing. I thought, I can't move on if I still love him. But actually, you can love somebody and know that they're not right for you. You can miss someone and still choose yourself. And you can grieve the future you once dreamed of without returning to the relationship that broke your heart. The truth is, you don't have to stop loving him in order to heal. You only have to stop making loving him mean something that it doesn't, that you belong together, that you're not making progress, that you're failing in your healing. But I know if you're saying, well, if that's not the goal, then what is the goal? And great question. A really important part of healing is actually knowing what the heck it is. And after years of trying to heal on my own, I was like, what is healing? And I had to sit down and really grasp what is healing. I actually have an entire essay on this in my healing handbook, if you're interested, defining what is healing, as well as giving practices to help you do that. But I'm going to do my best to put it concisely here. And so first I want to talk about why it's so important to understand what healing is to move forward in the process. And I'm going to read you just a few sentences from the healing handbook. I said, language is one of the most powerful tools we possess, yet its power can only be unlocked when meaning is shared. Bell Hooks captures this beautifully in her book, All About Love, when she writes, had I been given a clear definition of love earlier in my life, it would not have taken me so long to become a more loving person. And I felt the exact same way towards healing. Had somebody told me what I'm actually trying to work towards, maybe it wouldn't have felt like I was grasping at straws in the dark for so freaking long. And then I wrote, if love is undefined, distorted, or confused, we will enact distorted versions of it. If healing is vague, romanticized, or misunderstood, which I felt that it was, we will chase something we cannot quite grasp. And I think that's a very powerful sentiment, because we need to understand what the goal of healing is if we actually want to make strides towards being healed. So the goal isn't to make that love disappear. It's not to get rid of your feelings. It's not to feel one way or another. The goal of healing is to stop abandoning yourself because of what you feel. It's the process of learning to stay with yourself even when that love is still present there. Every time that longing comes, that urge to go back comes, healing asks one question of us. It says, can you stay with yourself instead of chasing short-term relief? And that is what moving on is about. It's not about loving him less. It's about abandoning yourself less. It's about learning to fill the needs that you once outsourced to other people whose it wasn't really ever their responsibility to do that. It's about not letting your love for someone else become a reason to abandon yourself. And I put it best in the healing handbook. To put it simply, healing is the process of ending our suffering by fully facing and experiencing our pain rather than resisting it. It is learning to stay patient and present with our grief, fear, shame, anger, uncertainty, and heartbreak, without running, without suppressing, fixing, distracting, judging, or prematurely attaching a meaning to what arises. So, with that being said, naturally, your next question must be, how the heck do I actually do that? So, here are a few of my best tips and advice to implement this on a practical level. Number one is by accepting the truth. The reality is, there is a reason you are here watching this video. There is a reason you clicked on the video that said, how do I move on and heal even though I still love him? And that is because the relationship wasn't working in some way. Whether it's because he left you, you left him and felt like you couldn't keep going on like that anymore, whether even if it was a very healthy mutual breakup where you just felt like it wasn't going to work, there is a reason that the relationship ended. Even if you wish that it was different, even if you wish that it wasn't true, and even if you consciously don't want the relationship to end. Accepting the truth is very, very difficult. I spent years trying not to accept what I knew deep down to be true. But the reality is, it is okay for you to love somebody and for it to not work out. And this was one of the most difficult lessons I learned. But sometimes love is not enough, because love isn't the only thing that goes into making a relationship work. Love is an umbrella term for, it should be an umbrella term, but obviously we don't all have the exact same definition of love. I believe love should be an umbrella term for respect, loyalty, patience, communication, kindness, and so on and so forth. But a lot of times what we refer to as love is kind of this intensity and flame, that spark that isn't what actually sustains a relationship. And whether or not we're talking about the first definition that I said or the second one, either way, sometimes love is simply not enough. And that is because not everything is meant to last forever. Sometimes, and this, again, this was all like some of the hardest things, the hardest parts of my healing right here. But sometimes relationships aren't meant to last the entire story. Sometimes they are only meant to last a chapter or two of your life. Sometimes people come into our lives to share lessons with us, lessons about what love is, or maybe about what love is not. Lord knows the relationship I'm referring to, I learned what love is not. But I learned so many things. I learned discernment. I learned how easy it was to abandon myself when things popped up. I learned so much about what love is not, what I don't want, what I won't accept. And as much as I wish that we could have been that love that carried through, that made it to the end, that relationship was never going to be for me. A lot of my pain came from the fact that I believed that relationships should last forever when it wasn't meant to. The reality is that impermanence is a fact of life. And with all things, impermanence, change is the only constant. Even our bodies, which we are so deeply attached to, will one day no longer be here. And that's a tough truth to swallow. Like, that is scary. That is very scary. But it's the truth. And when you can accept that as the truth, you will find a peace like no other. But the beautiful thing about the impermanence of it is that is what makes it meaningful. That is what makes love and life so precious, is the fact that tomorrow is not guaranteed in any capacity for any part of life. Anything could change in an instant, and that is terrifying. Hence why we so deeply attach and try to hold on to things, because we don't want that to be the truth. We don't want things to come and go. With my little princess Chloe, I want her to live forever. This dog has saved my life in so many ways that she doesn't even know. She just wants to go sniff. But as hard as it is for me, and as scary as it is for me, one day, this is so somber, I'm sorry, but it's the truth. And accepting this truth will genuinely make your life so much less fearful. Like, you don't have anything to be afraid of when you accept that impermanence is a fact of life. My dog is one day going to die. Oh my god, I hate saying that. I hate saying it. But one day she will not be with me anymore. And that's a fact. And that's why every day I look at her and I say, it is such a blessing to have you in my life. It is such a blessing that we get to share another day together. Life was never meant to be taken for granted. It was never promised to us until you accept that impermanence of life. Things like a relationship ending will destroy you. It hurts either way, but like one, you got so attached, you built an entire future. You're grieving so much more than loss. You're grieving that future. You're grieving your future kids that haven't been born yet. You know, you're grieving the wedding you thought you were going to have, the dress you thought you were going to wear. Like, it's like you have to let go of so many more things when you are treating something that's impermanent as permanent and it comes to an end, versus if you took every day as it came and said, I'm so grateful for another day of this. And if it ends, you knew that was always a possibility, and it's sad and it still hurts, but you're not absolutely destroyed over it. But anyways, this fact of life may make you very angry. It's called impotent rage, as David Hawkins calls it in his book, and that is the frustration of a wounded part of ourselves that is desperately fighting a reality it feels powerless to change. But the reason I bring up David Hawkins' work is because after he describes impotent rage, he also offers something he calls the Serenity Prayer. And I don't think that he created it, but I remember just how life altering it was when I actually found this prayer. And whether you're religious or not, just put what you believe in at the front. His, in his book, says God at the beginning, but he says, God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things that I can, and the wisdom to know the difference between the two. I love that prayer because impermanence is a fact of life, like I said, and that means that it is completely out of our control. As much as I want Chloe to live together, that's simply not something I can control. And if I choose to try to control it and resist that, I'm going to cause a lot of unnecessary suffering for myself. Actually, the definition of suffering is a resistance to what is, which implies that peace, or the absence of suffering, is an acceptance to what is. When you learn to accept everything, the things you can change, the things you cannot change, it's not the same as resignation, right? You can accept something you're not happy with in your life. Like if, for instance, you feel like you're not healthy and you want to be healthy, you can accept that right now you haven't been healthy. And that makes it so much easier to make a change because you're not fighting what is. You've accepted that, and now you have like a launch point to make a change. And same for the things you cannot control. It's acceptance is always step number one. If you are experiencing suffering in your life, the first thing you should always ask is, what am I not accepting right now? So coming back to healing, like I said, the relationship ended for one reason or another, and that is the truth at this present moment in time. Whether or not you will come together, whether or not you will stay apart, at this very moment, the present, you are not together. That is the truth. And so step number one is accepting that. Now, something that really helped me in my healing was understanding why I wanted to accept that and move forward and heal. For me, I reached a point in my relationship where I could not continue on the way that I had been going any longer. If I kept fighting for that relationship, I had already given every single thing that I had. If I kept fighting for that, it was not going to end well for me. So I left because I needed peace. The thing is, knowing your why is so important because healing is not linear. You don't just decide one day, I'm going to leave, I'm going to move on and heal, and you're going to feel better instantly. It's just not the way it works. When you leave someone, especially somebody, the longer you love, the more ingrained that's going to be in who you are or your current identity almost. Hard moments are going to come up. That love is still going to be there. Missing them is going to happen. There are going to be so many moments where you feel pulled backwards, where you question things, where you're just not sure, where you're romanticizing the past. Those hard moments are an inevitable and a very normal part of healing. Your why is what's going to carry you through those moments. Because for me, I wanted a healthy relationship. That is what I wanted. I wanted somebody who was going to be loyal, who was going to be honest. I wasn't going to have to question things. So whenever those moments would come up and I would feel like I wanted to reach back out to my ex, I really wanted to see him again, I would just remember my future partner is out there. He's waiting for me. And I'm never going to get to him if I call my ex right now. This is not aligned with where I want to go. This is not aligned with who I want to be. I had my why always there ready for those hard moments. So the exercise for you is to understand why, to dig deep, it's yes, I couldn't do this anymore, but why? Because I was exhausted, but why? Because there was no peace. So maybe what you're after is peace. Maybe it's like I couldn't hear my inner voice anymore. Maybe what you're doing it for is self-love, a relationship with yourself, self-respect. Maybe you have children that you want to be a role model for. Whatever it is, you got to know why you're doing what you're doing, or you will so easily fall back into going back in the hard moments. Your why is what carries you through the hard days. And I'd love to know your why. So if you're feeling up to it, share your why in the comment below and we can all inspire each other. Step number 2 is to let yourself grieve. I always say this, but let it hurt so you can let it heal. The first 2 weeks after the breakup are always the hardest, and then it gets lighter. I promise. It's not gone, but if you can make it through the first 2 weeks, those are always going to be the hardest. But your job is to let it out of you, because if you don't let it out, guess where it goes? It stays in. It gets stored in your body and it will stay there for years. Suppressed grief is literally rampant in our society. We don't allow ourselves to grieve, and it's really sad. So grief looks like missing them. It looks like questioning those hard moments. It looks like wanting to go back. All of those are signs that you're grieving somebody that you loved. They are very normal parts of the healing process. So something that's very important is to not judge yourself for those moments. Whatever your experience is your experience, and there's nothing right or wrong about it. Right and wrong and good and bad labels have to be removed from grief. Grief doesn't make sense, and it's not meant to in the moment that we're grieving. It will one day, but it's not going to make sense for a while until all of our feelings are fully felt. That is why they are called feelings, because they're not meant to be thought about or analyzed. They are meant to be felt. If you are sad, then cry. If you are angry, then scream, rage. Go to a rage room. Why can't I say rage today? That's crazy. But if you're angry, rage it out. Stomp. Move your body, like dance. Be a little kid, like channel those emotions. Don't bottle them up. That is the worst thing you could do. Or trying to escape them. I tried to do that for a very long time. I drank. It doesn't work. It doesn't work. And you'll end up with bronchitis like me. Hi. Don't drink, don't run, don't escape. You have to learn to stay with yourself. That is what healing is about. I write it beautifully in my healing handbook. The path forward is not about fighting your pain or trying to escape it as quickly as possible. It is about learning to face it, to sit with it, to honor what you are feeling without judgment. If you feel sadness, allow the sadness. Make room for your tears and let them flow. If you feel anger, allow that anger. Stomp, scream, throw things without hurting anyone, of course. If you feel confusion, allow the confusion. Embrace it all. Healing happens when you are able to meet your experience with compassion rather than resistance. So I encourage you to spend time with your painful feelings and approach them with curiosity. After all, they are just temporary visitors. I love that. And that's one of the other most important things to keep in mind as you go through the grief process, is that every single moment is temporary. Your mind is going to try and convince you this moment's going to last forever. It's not. I promise you it's not. I like to think of my thoughts and my feelings and anything that I experience as the waves at the beach, right? They come and they go. The clouds in the sky, they come and they go. Experience, feelings, thoughts, they come and they go always, 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 always. So if you can stay present, and the other great thing about grief, is there a lot of great things about grief? I don't know. Yes, there is, but it doesn't feel great when you're in it. But one of the best parts of grief is that it is time limited. I know it feels so overwhelming that you're not sure you want to let it come up, but it will never last longer than 10 to 20 minutes, if even. the crying will always dry up. And once you cry out, I feel like a lot of girls maybe know this better than boys, but good cry always makes you feel better. So let yourself feel your feelings, is all that I'm trying to say. They are temporary and they have something to tell you, and you got to stay present and listen to them. Don't try and guess what they're saying. Listen to them. Observe them. Treat your feelings like you would a kid that is crying. You wouldn't tell your kid to just shut up and go away. You would hold them. You would hug them. You would allow them to feel what they're feeling. And actually, I used to practice this exact same thing when I used to have really big moments of grief. I would literally hold myself like a child and say, "We are going to get through this together. This moment is going to pass. You are not alone." Like, even though it sounds crazy, I would do that and it always made me feel so much better because it felt like I wasn't alone. And that's the whole thing about healing, is staying with yourself in those hard moments, like not leaving yourself alone. So, I think I've said pretty much all that I can fit into this video. But in conclusion, those hard moments are going to come. Those moments where you miss them, that grief is coming. You lost something that was really important to you, that you loved fully. And it doesn't just, I'm good, we broke up, I'm good. It is a process that is messy and not a straight line. Your job is to allow it, to accept it, to see where it's leading you, because there is a deeper intelligence at work within you. There's a reason you couldn't keep denying that truth. It's because some part of you is trying to show you something that is true that you couldn't previously see in the situation that you were in. Some part of you needs you to grow, that there is a higher version of you that is waiting for you to be stepped into. And the way you get there is through feeling everything, allowing it all without judgment, and accepting it and staying present with yourself through it. So, healing is not about making love disappear. It's learning to stay with yourself while that love is still there. Because eventually the love will change, the grief will soften, the longings will quiet down, and it's not going to be because you fought it, but because every single time it came, you chose yourself again and again and again. I'd love to know, what is the hardest part of healing for you? And also, if you're looking for a more complete step-by-step version, all of this is clipped out of my healing handbook, which synthesizes why your pain has a purpose. What is healing? Why did I stay even though I knew better? And why do I still want to go back? As well as what to actually do, how to actually apply these learnings, how to move forward and reclaim your life. It's literally the roadmap I wish somebody would have given me the day that I walked away from my toxic relationship. It absolutely would have shortened the time that I was suffering from it, and I hope that it helps some of you. I hope you know that this space is always here for you, and that instead of running to him, you can come here and be here. You are safe here. You can exhale. So with that, all my love, I'll see you guys next time. Bye, guys.